Hey, how's it going, guys? Can you hear us loud and clear now? Check, check. Quick sound check. What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, I can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Um, Interesting day again. Um, how was your day?
Interesting day for sure. It was a mix of taking some decent trades and not getting chopped up in the equities. It was a rough one. The equities this morning were pretty rough, but it was an okay day. How was yours, Coach?
Um, Rather boring. I had some good trades. I lost well in others. I think I basically made a little bit of money, but there was some nice. There was a nice J trade. We'll go over later. But all in all, kind of boring,
Kind of
except for the
boring.
currencies.
Except for everything else besides the equities, platinum, natural gas, the currencies, micro Bitcoin, whatever you want to name, everything else moved. All right, let's take a look at the news. This is a pretty quiet week as far as planned news goes. We do have Fed speakers all the time, and I believe the president might be doing a press conference right now, I believe, or a speech right now. So we may see some market moving, but as far as planned numbers go, not much this week. We do have jobless claims, of course, every Thursday, and a couple of housing numbers, but a pretty quiet week as far as news goes. As far as earnings season's not over yet, we do have Nvidia still next week, and that's probably the big one. So we're going to be looking out for that as well. But pretty quiet news day again, Coach. Anything you have on the news?
Um, just that it seems like every hour there's a White House press conference. So just being aware that that can happen anytime and focusing in on risk. But other than that, I don't see anything big.
Good stuff. Greg B, thank you for that. Trump announced plans to build the Golden Dome, similar to Israel's Iron Dome. Trump to announce $25 billion funding for Golden Dome project, is missile defense. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. All right, 35 different markets we can talk about. Sorry, 35 different markets we could trade with top step accounts. Today to the downside, we had the Australian dollar down 0.48%. It's kind of going back and forth with the S&P right now. The S&P down 0.48% and the Nasdaq down 0.53% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had wheat futures up 3.45%, platinum up 5.37%, natural gas up 9.16% to round out as our biggest percentage mover to the upside. I'm just going to pull up this natural gas chart really quick. We're not going to deep dive into this. But this is something that we talked about yesterday. I didn't trade it. I don't know if Coach Paul you traded it, but we talked about the daily 200
No.
moving average and that being uh, a pretty important level. And we can see that was almost the low of the session and pretty much a one-way move the rest of the day. Here's the open. Set the low on the open. Rallied right off that 200 moving average. Coach Paul, why is that 200 moving average so important?
Um, and it's a good question. I don't question why. I just know that funds, large funds, watch it for allocation, but it seems to work on, and that's on on a daily, but it works on a short-term charge too. Why does it work? I don't try to get it too much into why, but it definitely gives me good guidance. Lost your
Oh, you should be able to
voice.
hear me now. Looking
Yeah.
at this natural gas move, didn't do much overnight. A lot of the volume kind of picked up, and we can see that just going back. If you're going to trade nat gas, right? Because we're going to mention every once in a while, we're going to mention a market that's moving. If you look at what this market has done, kind of historically, there is potentially some movement overnight, but a lot of that movement starts around 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern is when the volume is coming in. If I'm just doing a quick glance at this chart, so am I going to be opening my charts during slow markets to trade in nat gas? I could, but looking at the data, I might be in some pretty slow trades. until around that 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central Time. Uh, but a market that moves 10% up at one point today, which is a huge move.
And it had a big move down yesterday.
It did.
So
Yeah, biggest percentage mover to the downside yesterday, 5% down. It's happening again.
it's but great opportunity, well defined. Um, we've gone through that a few times. Um, but most like you said, the equities were dead, but there was quite a lot of opportunity elsewhere.
Yes, there was. Let's round out our big four. Crude oil up 0.34%. Gold up almost 2%, 1.97%. We already talked about the S&P down 0.45 and the Nasdaq down 0.48. Uh, where do we want to start? Want to start with the equities like we always do?
Uh, yeah, might as well.
Get them out the way. Go to the Nasdaq. Let's take a look at the daily. We are in balance. We are in balance here, Coach Paul. What are we looking at here? What is the market
Um,
waiting for?
uh, Buyers.
Someone
That's
waiting for
someone.
someone to do something. Someone hit
Now,
somebody.
what is it waiting for? But what's interesting is it's a selling candle that got nowhere.
Yep,
So there was, to me, today was a day was it attempted counter trend selling that lasted what, an hour and a half. Um, that to me, well, we've got balance going across. We just mentioned, but it was interesting. That is a selling candle. Mark today's high. We get above that, and we should move with some type of urgency to the upside.
21,562 and a quarter high of the day today. Take a look at the S&P really quick. The high of the day, 59.93 half. Last night it looked like we were going to break out and the S&P was going to go test that 6,000 level. Um where we had a pretty strong close yesterday. Have the open last night. Volume left that range. I thought, okay, now's the time. And that volume died up there, right around that high, 59.93, and just kind of trickled lower the rest of the day. But holding up pretty well, it looks like on a higher time frame. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, it was interesting. It came out of Asia. We don't see that kind of reversal come out of Asia too often in equities.
Hmm.
I don't know if there was something went on in Japan or China. Um, but look where we ended up going down
What is that white line?
to the white line. We'll just call it the white line. Um, and it wicked down there to come right back to the middle of the range.
Yep,
Ch- Um, I don't know what came out that to draw. I don't. It doesn't really matter to me. There was some kind of.
it doesn't matter.
s- It doesn't matter. Thank you.
It does. China
Uh,
rates. That's what it was last night. Yeah,
China rates.
JD, thank you for that. Yeah, China cut their
Thank you.
rates. That's what it was that kind of got things moving. Um,
Oh,
last night. Yep, China rates. I do remember that being on slow markets.
it's that was all. Well, it's night, but even for night, that was light volume. So I took that as just no new buyers. All right, after yesterday's rally. Um, so we did come right back and test yesterday's open, which we bounced off, which was the 200 bar moving average. Um, to a shorter time frame.
Uh,
Go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead.
I was going to go to the 3 minute.
Yeah, let's go regular trading hour chart and look at this open first. Traders ask a lot, how do I identify that the market is in a range? We've seen what urgency looks like. Yesterday was urgency, right? We talked about missing this trade yesterday. I missed this trade yesterday. But if we look at the 3 minute opening range or whatever opening range you decide to use, and if you attach VWAP to it, you see how quickly this VWAP leaves this range? On a day like today, you didn't get that, right? And how can you tell? This is why personally I think I say, Coach Paul, I'm not maybe looking to take a trade in this first 3 minutes because it could look one of these two ways. So when I see a trade like this, my job isn't to catch the low of this move. It's just to identify the flow once that move happens and then get in it somewhere in this trend. So the same way with if I'm looking at a 3 minute range, if it isn't this clear DNA of that trade, then it's probably doing something else. Right. So, 12 minutes into the market, we're really not seeing any direction. Uh, this is starting to kind of show the identity and the personality for the day. Now, can identities change? Can personalities change? If you're looking at the Nasdaq, it might seem like it has 16 different personalities in a day, uh, but this is starting to show you what the day has the potential to be. With this VWAP really never leaving that opening range until the end of the day. Um, so if you
And
were getting, go ahead, Coach.
coach, just to remember, the VWAP is price with volume. So for VWAP to move, it has to have volume. So if there's no volume on either side, VWAP is going to be flat. The price can move, but VWAP won't. So when VWAP is caught in an opening range, there is no conviction.
Yep. I mean, we could go out to a 30 and it's the same, right? And shout out to NPT in the chat saying, I'm using this strategy on the 30 minute. Um, and it's great here, right? If we look at this view up here, it's right in the middle of this 30-minute range. So if you are looking to trade these equities, right? Let's say you are the trader, the tip of the week this week is consistency, right? Part of that consistency is saying, don't jump around and trade the same markets. So if you're going to trade the equities, I don't think it's a problem to trade the equities, but you have to trade what's in front of you. And today it was a range. Now, what can I do to identify that range and trade in it? Or for me personally, it's more of a kind of stay out. But when I zoom out and look at this on a 30-minute chart, coach, this is pretty clear that you know, the extremes of that range were defined. Just had to give it
And the
some time.
farther, yeah, and once you get 3, 4 bars into it and VWAP is still flat and we haven't closed outside of the range,
Yep,
that's a pretty good indication.
100%. All right, let's go back to that 3 minute chart. You were talking about this here, weren't you?
Yeah. Well,
Later in
look
the
what
day.
we had later in the day when we did. And even then, it was interesting, and I saw this, was VWAP still didn't leave that opening range.
Nope.
So there was, yeah, you call it a stop run. I'll just call it selling. All right. That made new lows on the day. But what happened on the low? We had like 2 times average range on
Yep.
the low,
Average
two
volume.
times average volume, and into the lows of the day. And once we closed above that bar,
Yep. And
right
this
back to VWAP.
shout out to Brad. This is when we hit that 200 moving average, right, and ran it. So not a coincidence
Yeah.
that we're seeing volume at such a major level, right? We're looking at it on a shorter time frame, but this is why it's important to do that kind of higher time frame analysis because we would know that the 200 moving average was there as a potential area for the market to respond to. I want to go over to the Nasdaq really quick because when was I on? 1 o'clock?
I,
I don't remember.
it all melts together.
It all melts together. I took a trade. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I took a long, but it was it was a failed one, right? It was this trade here, and we were looking for a close above this high volume because I thought this had the potential to do it, and it didn't do it, right? And what happened? We never closed outside that volume. We rejected at the high, and it's okay. I took the trade and it ended up being a loser. That's fine. But we never got that close, right? I mean, it's we're
Yeah.
talking about a
It's
couple of
really
ticks here,
important.
couple of ticks, but we never got the close, and the trade failed. So when you establish a rule or you set a rule, and I took this with smaller risk, I took it with micros. It's a rule for a reason. Is it a coincidence that this one worked? We actually got that close. I don't think so. Uh, Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, it's really important for it to close. And if you want to preempt an opening range, yeah, but I don't want to preempt this. I just if it's going to go, why give it a few ticks?
Yep.
Sometimes, and I'm guilty of preempting trades a lot less since I did started doing the journaling.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Is that what your journal said
um,
often? Just
yeah.
you're preempting trades? Yeah. I mean,
Wait for the close, especially
for
in
the
a
close.
3 minute. What I have to get in. It's like
Right.
that kind of just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, really, you can't wait another minute?
Right.
um, but um, yeah, but it was a equities were not a really energetic energetic market today. I mean,
There was
it
a
was
ton of
hard to watch.
volume that was getting traded in the Nasdaq. So there were a couple 800 lots, a couple 500 lots that got filled in this range again. And I don't know if you guys remember, but in February, same exact thing happened. Stayed in a range for a couple of days, and there was a ton of go back and watch the at the buzzer segments from this time from February. I might actually go do that because we talked about volume getting traded in this range, and then all of a sudden, the sell off of the year happens. Same thing is kind of happening here. Now we don't know directionally what that volume is doing, but we're consolidating in a range, and there's decent amount of volume trading. Most of it coming in on the offer. I don't want to say that this market is going to sell off again. Anything can happen, but the market is not going to stay in this range forever, right? If we stayed here forever, right, for the rest of eternity in the Nasdaq, we have a lot of problems. So it's going to go
Oh, we
somewhere.
got great range trading.
Well, yeah, I mean, at that point, I think I would be the goat of range trading if we stayed here forever. But you know, it's building momentum to do something, and it's just not yet. What I will say is when it happens and when that move starts to go, especially on a higher time frame, it'll be whatever the next trending move is, whether it's to the upside or the downside, and that's when we start to get back into that conversation of not wanting to fade the trend. There is no trend right now, right? So we see it even on fast markets. Traders are taking longs, traders are taking shorts, and it's like, oh, this is an obvious long, this is an obvious short, this is an obvious range. So if you can find some points out of it, I think you did your job. But this market is directionally, and I think we can all agree with this, not going anywhere uh, until it decides to. Would you anything else you got on the equities coach?
Let's see what old Rusty did. We
Let's
talked about that yesterday,
good. I kept your trend line.
and we held it today.
Yes, we did.
Um,
Let's look at a higher time frame really quick. Let's go out to the daily. Why were you talking about this on the daily, Coach Paul?
because the other ones have broken the downtrend line, and this one hasn't. But it's not rejecting it; it's finding resistance there. On the other side of resistance is what rally. Um, Now we held it today again, so I'll be watching it again. Um, Boy, look at that. And look at how small the ranges are getting.
Yeah, daily ATR 47 points. Today's range was 19, 20 points. Building momentum.
Building momentum. Can it reject this and continue to go down? Absolutely. I feel it's going to break it. Um, but that's that's not reality. Um, but I didn't get a chance to buy it. I looked early and didn't have any kind of urgency, and I didn't look at it again. So I'll look for it again tomorrow. But
Stuff.
look how different it is from the others.
Yeah,
From
way
advanced.
way different. Looking at that 200 moving average on the daily, we're still 5% off of that. The Nasdaq is above it, consolidating above it. The S&P consolidating above it. The Dow consolidating right below it. So like you said yesterday, coach, if there is a catch up play, it's in the Russell right now. Uh, if it's going to catch up to the other equities. Um, Got some questions here. Let's get to a couple questions. Genius Genie says, "This week I'm trying to size up. However, I find the drawdowns quite nerve wracking. Even I considered this before entering. Kindly help with suggestions." You're trying to size up. Genius Genie, I'm going to ask you one question. How long have you been trading? How long have you been trading the process you're currently trading? Right? You're looking to size up, and usually sizing up is a monetary decision, right? Plain and simple. There's no other reason to size up besides wanting to make more money. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to make more money. But are you sizing up with something that you can trust consistently, or you just said, hey, I hit a couple good trades and now I want to size up to maximize it? Since October 24th. Okay. And what size are you trading currently is important as well. Right. If you're trading four minis right now, um, had my XFA since October 24th. Okay. Let us know what size you're trading as well, because I think it's important. Three micros. What are you trying to size up to? And this could go for anybody, right? Anybody who's looking to size
Yeah.
up right now. But Genius Genie asked the question. What are you looking to see? You trading three, what are you looking to size up to? 5 to 6. Okay. So you're looking to double your risk for what you're comfortable with since October. And keeping the XFA since October is amazing, right? You're talking about 7 months. Is that right? Did I do my math right? Yeah, about 7, 8 months of keeping the XFA. Um, but you're doubling the risk. So like you said, the P&L swings are kind of jarring because it's double what you're accustomed to seeing. Try to size up smaller. Instead of going straight to 6 from 3, go to 4, right? Just add 1. And if you start to get uncomfortable with that 4, you're going to have to deal with some level of discomfort, right? Because you're stretching the bounds of your risk appetite and your imagination. Um, but you get comfortable with it after a while. Take the same setups that you've been taking, but don't double your risk right away, because that's a lot. Anything you got on that,
Also,
coach?
go one micro at a time till you get comfortable. Also, stop. Don't think of it and measure it in percentages of your equity. If your equity in that time is doubled, well, then you can double your size.
Yep.
If it hasn't and you double your size, and then it can be too much too fast. So start looking at your balance and measure that equity and your size as a percentage. So you more than doubled in equity. Oh, yeah, time to bring up your size. But I would, since it's making it's you said it's giving you anxiety, and Coach Jay said it's too much at once. Go one at a time. Like one more next week, one more till you double it. If your equity's doubled, then you're comfortable again.
Good stuff. Brad, I don't remember saying I thought the S&P was going to break down. I think I was looking for a long at the low of the range, which eventually happened, but it was much lower than where I expected it to. Uh, can we look at RBOB? We can definitely look at the energies. Bias for tomorrow, Coach Paul. What's your bias for tomorrow? This is definitely a question about the equities. What's your bias for tomorrow?
I'm looking to buy it.
Go. Looking to buy.
Um,
I'm looking to not trade it, to be honest, unless it breaks out of this range. Going to be honest with you, I'm going to be on fast markets tomorrow. Tonight, I will be scanning for markets that look like they're presenting opportunities on higher time frames. If the equities are in this range tomorrow, I will not be trading them on fast markets tomorrow. I'm just not going to do it. Uh, we'll find something else though. We'll find something good. Uh,
Lion mindset is it possible to day trade on Top Step in the 30-minute time frame, or do we have to learn to trade on the 1 and 5 one to use the right stop loss? Excellent question. Um, I I would use the half hour as a signal of direction. It's the way I do it. Now you could use the half hour. You're going to trade a lot less, and your winning days will be less, but your losing days will be less also. It's a trade-off, and it's a very good question because you don't get urgency breakouts on a half hour in equities that often enough, but at night you do. So if you want to use the half hour on the opening range at night, I would do it that way. But the half hour during the day, you're gonna trade. You're going to trade less, but I would use it more um, for direction to trade in a shorter term. Kind of
So
like we
thank
do
you
here.
for that, Coach Paul. At 14 hours. Claude, I think you mean this exhaustion here. Is that enough for a J trade? Yeah. Yep. This is one here. At the lows of the day, high volume.
Uh,
You're looking at the 5 minute. Close above it. Yeah, it looks good.
that- right out of the J Trade
That's in the
dictionary.
that's in the book. All right, let's move over to gold. Let's move over to gold.
Hey,
Also,
Coach,
if
one other thing, an
go
observation
ahead.
from SOB 12, if I'm reading
Yeah,
it. Coaches, you gave me some really good advice on how to find what setup strategies work best for a trader last week. And this week, I'm now 4 days past on my XFA with one to go. Thanks again. You're welcome. That's great to hear. Uh, That's why we do it.
that is amazing. And shout out to you for taking whatever information we provided and implementing. Right? At the end of the day, you still have to click the button, take your trades. Uh, Also, you're 4 days into your XFA. One more day to go. I'm assuming for a payout. Take good trades. Right? Take good trades like you have been to this point, and continue to do that. If it doesn't happen tomorrow where you get $200 and you need to accept a small loss, that's okay. Make it a measurable loss and continue to trade. But great job. Great trading.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Gold.
Gold
Hitesh says, can we talk about gold in 4 hours? Uh,
in the
talk
four
about gold.
hour.
Let's talk about gold for 4 hours because it is it's a market that's moving. What is this white line here?
I That's the line from the deities. Um,
Seriously,
200 moving average. And
this is on
last
a
night
this is on a 30
we
minute. Go ahead, coach.
we looked at that. We were talking about that last night. Finding support down there. Notice that VWAP didn't get below the 200. And what else happened? We had light volume in small ranges. So
Yep,
let's start from the opening and see what happened. Now, we did leap. We had urgency there,
we did. Definitely
and that
did.
was a 2 to 1 on the sell side.
Risking about 8 points if you sold at the low of this range here. Or if you go two ATRs, it's about 12 points. If you risk the range, you definitely got a 2 to 1. If you risk two ATRs, you got about a 1.5 to 1. Either way, um, well, actually, you might have got stopped out right here. It depends. It was a nice trade either way. This is a trade that I know if I'm in it, no way I'm leaving with no profits. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, but let's go back to the daily. Oh, this gold market looks. We talked. It's going to go either way, and it got to
Yep.
the what is that yellow line? That was the high of the day. We're in between. We break out. If we settle a half an hour above that 20, it's we could have a big day in gold tomorrow. It feels like the when we talked about a jack in a box, it's going to hit that right notch, and they're going to pop.
Yep.
Um, boy, look at that 50. Just couldn't do it.
So
Um,
remember, I asked last week, is it broken? Right? Did they finally break the gold market? And It's done what it's done for the last 2 years. Made a new high, it pulled back, held a technical level, and it's
Wow. That
6% off the all-time high.
yeah, it's 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 not bad.
Can't keep it
Wow,
down.
I'm just saying that 50 is, I mean, the 20 is flattening out.
Yep.
Um, wow. The low was the 50 and the high was the 20. I believe today.
Pretty close to it, yeah.
Yeah, that's picking up. I mean, now let's go to. Someone said the 4 hour. Let's put a 4 hour chart up there.
But look, I'm gonna take the moving averages off just so we can look at price. Take our drawings off. Hmm. I don't look at a 4-hour chart much, but
Kind of a inverted head and shoulders. Kind of ugly at the head and shoulders, but still, if we put a line chart there, and we would, this is definitely turned around. I mean,
oh yeah. Yep.
oh, there it is. I think if you're looking for structure, that line chart just defines it so much easier to me. Um, oh wow. Well, now let's put a trend line from that high to the next high, and I think we even broke that on the 4 hour. Oh no, that's our. All right, that's
So,
the
okay, so
next.
here's my question about trend lines. Would you go here or would you go from this one because we made
But
a lower high?
you can do either. Whatever. I I
Whatever
was
confirms
taught.
your trade.
Yeah, no.
It's like, "Oh, look,
It,
it says to take a long."
it's this, yeah, and that can be a problem. But and this one is the highest high. Well, that's all time highs. Then the
Yes.
next highest high. So if we did it earlier before this next high, it broke the trend line, made a new high.
Mhm.
But this trend, this is the all-time high. So it's important. Then you go to the next high, and it's a longer term. But if you mean it's all relative, if you were doing it on a 5 minute, the thing is to be consistent with where you put your trend lines, because you can absolutely fall into the trap of making it, oh, I'll just move it over a little bit.
That's why I don't draw trend lines.
Now you could do a trend line with moving average and volume, and you're going to get better information.
Oh. But yeah, this market is looking pretty strong right now, holding up nicely. Uh, this reversal pattern here. And if we look at a shorter time frame, let's go down to the half hour. We already talked about last night. Uh, 1 minute opening range, opening call guys took the 1 minute opening range trade, and they took a long. I mean, and I talked to JD about this. We were on Lunchbox Trading. He was talking about, maybe still wanting to be in this trade because it continued to trend. We talked about, coach, seeing you were in this trade, right? You were in this trade at one point, and I saw somebody in chat say it. Coach Paul would say, take the 2-to-1 and leave it. But there was, from that same trade location, a 50-point trade available, $50 trade available in gold. Uh, and we were talking to JD about it, and he was just like, it'd be great to find a way to stay in this trade, right? To still be in it. Uh, what do you do when you look at this, Coach Paul? Because if you took the long on this 1 minute opening range breakout, you had from that point minus a couple of ticks the best trade location for the day. What do you
Can you
do when you catch this trade and then you see this afterwards?
can you take it again? So did they get stopped out?
Yeah, they did. So he took 5 micros, he took some profit, on the way up. I think when we started to turn, there might have been, I don't know exactly what level they were looking at up here that they took some profits off, but they took profits pretty much near the high and then got stopped out on a 2-lot runner, from 5 micros.
So they made much decent money.
Made
They
money on it.
almost probably made 2 to 1,
Right.
but then and quick math. Now, but see, that's a trade that was specifically designed for an opening range trade. So you have
Correct.
to follow that. Now, what I would do is what does the half hour look like now? There you go. So now it's the opening half hour trade
Okay.
because that 1 minute is done.
Right.
Um, now,
So the
oh,
thing is, I think that 1 minute happened. Yeah, a lot of that move happened in the first hour, right? It was that first hour about because really we should be looking at this half an hour candle, right? Because gold opens at
okay.
8:20. So yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. I marked out the
Yeah,
wrong candle.
it never left the range. So you could give it another shot, especially with that information. Now, remember, in that, if you're taking a 1 minute, I don't, I would do a back test of what you can expect. In different markets, you could expect different things, but gold is a little different because when is the opening?
Right.
Really, I mean, it's the U.S. Open, but it's a bit like it's like Bitcoin and crude oil. It trades 24/7. If crude oil's not trading, then the world economy is stopped. Kind of like what happened in COVID. Um, but what a trade! But you can also change. That's the 1 minute. You could look at the 5 minute, like I said. But after that amount of time, it's about a half an hour. The first thing I would look is what does the half hour look like now?
I mean, we see, and you said where is the real opening? The most volume came in at 9:55 Eastern time, right? So, and it was still a great trade from there, right? Immediate continuation of that volume. Buyers really just stepped in. That was the trend for the day. So you could have even missed all of this. Uh, I- Man, this is a perfect example of, if you still want to take the trade, sometimes I think what might happen, and it'll happen to me as well, where you get this trade location for your initial trade, you take the profit on it. Maybe you don't re enter here, but then you look at the market again here. But somewhere in the back of your mind is just like, I should be long from here. And you don't even catch any of this move, paying attention to what the market is saying in the moment because I want this entry. Can't get that back. But if you could ignore that and say that the market is still moving, maybe even be able to catch part of this trade. But uh, again, I'm admitting that somebody who's been doing this for a long time, sometimes it's hard to get back into a trade this much higher than your original entry, even if you've already taken profits. Sometimes.
Yeah. So Deshaun Bradley, according to, well, you're talking about Bitcoin going to 147. I'm sorry, but here's another thing. Measure let's use. We don't talk about. I don't think we talk about Fibonacci enough. So let's look at a Fibonacci retracement from that high to the low
Uh, gonna
of the
make
1 minute. Yeah.
You're gonna make me
Oh, you
change
got to
my
find it.
fib retracement tool. Hold on one second. I gotta set it back to the defaults.
Oh, sorry, not sorry.
You see? Hold on one second. All right. All the lines are gonna be green. I'm not gonna change the colors.
All right, that's fine. So let's do that opening range that to the high, that 1 minute from the trade to the high. Using that, now we came back to zero,
Yep.
not on a price basis, on a retracement basis, because not all prices are equal. But once we get in there, like you said, if we go back halfway, you might be able. That's might be the place to do it. But that's something using Fibonacci and that can help too. And what I like to do, and this goes into Gan, which I did Gan for many years. If and we don't, I don't know how to use this Gan tool, and I'm not even not even gonna go there right now. But if you put a from the high of that move, and you put a 45-degree trend line down, If it closes above that trend line, yeah, that's like one of the greatest Gan moves tricks that you could because at that point time and price are equal and it can move anywhere. So, um yeah, don't I tried to. I used to do it. Maybe one day I'll make. I have old charts where I did it all by hand. Which, by the way, I don't. I kind of miss doing it by hand.
Yeah.
But um, that's another way to look at a range and a correction.
I know
But
Coach Ray looks at this, right? He would look at this if he was short as this channel, and like you kind of said, once it broke out the high of the channel, then either if he was short, that's the indication to get out of the trade. But then maybe if it holds the high of that channel to start looking to get in. Bunch of different ways to look at the markets, man. I love the markets. I see traders saying, this is how I love to trade. I mean, we just saw it, right? Drawing some trend lines, breaking the trend is a pretty nice trade. Uh, Greg says you can use the rectangle tool. All right, I'm going to show you guys how efficient. I'm not going to use the word lazy. How efficient I try to be. Uh, the hotkey to use fib retracements is a lot easier than the hotkey to use the rectangle tool. Right, the rectangle is Alt Shift R, and fib retracements is Alt F, and Alt Shift R is some other hotkey on my computer. So I just went with whatever the easiest. Because I draw so many of these too, went with the easier hotkey. But great, great suggestion for sure. Uh, all right. Anything else on gold, coach?
no, that's it.
All right, cool. Let's get to some
I
more
did.
questions.
By the
Go
way,
ahead.
I will say I think gold is the best trading market available. Just it's awesome. Micro gold. uh,
Yeah. I mean, look at a 50-point move, high to low. And not to say that you're going to catch that entire move, but there's a ton of opportunity there. Ton of opportunity, especially if you are an equities trader and struggle. We saw Dakota trade gold today during fast markets, and that doesn't happen often. I think he just enabled gold on his live account recently. Um, but he saw the price action in the equities. I mean, he was a little bit late to the move. I think he did still catch. He was late to the move and still made some money on it. Uh, and that's how much opportunity this market's presenting right now. All right. Let's see, we got 15 minutes. Let's go through a couple more questions here. How do you both document your trade learnings, whether it's a win or a loss? Do you instantly write them down to avoid forgetting, or do you just jot quick notes, revisit later? I think I've, for the most part, kind of recall how days go. Maybe not specific trades, but days. And I know, Coach Paul, you said you started journaling recently. How do you document your trade learnings? And
Okay, two things. When I make the trade, I take a screenshot now.
there you go.
So, and then with that screenshot, is it when I'm building up is evidence that I'm following my trading plan because I can be wayward son that let's say, preempting. Um, and when I do that, I'm finding the preempting is costing me. Um, I don't like to give away money. I don't mind losing money inside my trading plan because it's designed. I mean, best loser wins. So with that, would take it when you make the trade and you make notes. Okay, this I've entered my stop. Um, it helps me follow the plan more consistently. Like where you really have to be accountable because you could come up with a many different. Well, this time it's a little different. I want to try it. No, it ain't because you're veering from the plan. So it's a great tool and Top Step X. You put it right next to the trade. Um, I actually have a practice account just for putting trades in for my other accounts. So while you do that, I can't. Wish I would have done it a long time ago. Just it. You really become accountable. Like I don't want you'll get to a point. It's like I don't want to do that. So um, it, it's and it's all right here in Top Step X. So st- struggle with doing it. You'll do it more when you'll find value in it, and then you'll do it more.
Stuff. Do you gents use tick charts along with time charts? I know Dakota does. So if you do, how do you use them? I'll use tick charts every once in a while. Um, I'll just kind of switch back. I actually I may be using tick charts. I've been trying to play around with some execution stuff, just to avoid hesitation. I may be using tick charts on Topstep TV tomorrow, just to kind of help with execution. I think that's what Dakota uses it for actually as well, where he's not looking at the tick chart for levels, but once he's identified an area in the market that he wants to execute a trade, then he's looking at when he uses a 100 tick chart, then he's looking at the 100 tick chart to then take executions. But all the levels are still coming off of a higher time frame. Coach, you use tick charts at all?
I I I don't have success using tick charts.
Coach Paul still uses line charts, and
You
they're
can look at a line
amazing.
chart. Well, the reason because now I have nothing. I mean, tick charts are of value if it works for your personality. I will put it that way. My personality is a little different. Um I'm not good at them. It's too much movement for me.
Mm.
I like to add a little price. Like Coach Robert uses tick charts because he doesn't believe in time. I'm a little different. And by the way, whatever works for you, neither is right or wrong. But um, one thing with a line chart, those are where the market closes on that time frame. And to me, the close is more important than the price alone. So any I would not, I used to use point and figure charts. A point and figure chart is very similar to um boy,
Do we have point and figure charts on here? No, we don't.
I
Oh
don't
yeah, we
think
do.
so.
Do.
No,
It's like
we do
NFL
have them.
NFL playbook.
It does. And yeah, but those are pretty good too if you know how to use them. Oh, Brad,
You're gonna have to give us a lesson one day, because
all right, I will do that. Renko, I
looks like tic tac toe.
it kind of does. Someone will find value. I don't,
Yeah,
I just said I used to know a guy who traded wheat on the phases of the moon, and he traded it pretty well. Whatever works.
yeah. At the end of the day, it's something that helps you click a button, right? So if that helps you click the button, keep doing it,
This is good stuff. I don't. And by the way, don't rule out any of them.
right?
It just it if that helps you see the market, well, have at it.
I think if I
Um,
showed up with point and figure charts on fast markets tomorrow, they would kick me off.
oh, I don't think so. Do it. Do
Andre's
it.
gonna be like, "Get the hell out of here with that. What is that?" I'm gonna do some homework tonight, and if I can figure out what a point and figure chart is trying to explain to me, uh, I'm not gonna do that. All right.
Yes, that was before the internet and it was before computers because moving average were not existent before the advent of the personal computer.
Yep.
Because you had to do all the math. And by the time you did the math, the market's already moving. Um, so point and figure, who was that? Coach Hoop used it in the pork bellies at 10 by 30. Um, so anyway, I don't get too far away, but you know, it in a practice account, if you something appeals to you or you want to learn it, look at it and execute it or do it in a practice account. Um, So you can struggle well with it. But, whatever. And like I said, I'll say it again. It's your personality. I
Yep,
said, but like Coach Robin and I are complete. I respect what he does completely. He's really good at it.
really good.
Him and I are on opposite poles. I may make either one right or wrong, but I'll tell you what, whatever fits your personality is the one you're going to trade better.
100%. All right. Any other markets we want to talk about? We got about 10 minutes left. Mark Jennifer, I saw your question about the XFAs. We'll get to that. And System Pro FX, do you only trade futures? No. I'll trade options as well. I have a couple longer term swing positions. Coach Paul trades options as well, right? Coach Paul, do you only trade futures?
Oh, I trade options also in my swing account.
There you go.
I
Um,
I love options.
all right. Let's take a look at micro Bitcoin. I'm going to get off this point and figure chart. Uh, micro Bitcoin. Resilient, strong market. Not even resilient, the leader right now.
It's
Uh,
the leader. It's the most non-violent market we have now.
yeah,
Um, How did that flip?
right. Bitcoin is the safe space right now. And it's just, I
Eh,
mean, it. Go ahead, coach.
no, go ahead.
It's a two-sided trade, and so far for what we've seen over the past couple of days, selling in Asia, buying in the New York session, and continuing to grind higher on the daily. Right, selling in the overnight, buying in New York, selling overnight, buying. So there's a decent trade on both sides. It looks like right now in micro Bitcoin, at least in this range that we're in, or this kind of channel that we're in. Uh,
I heard you swearing at me under your breath.
uh, but
That jerk.
it's a great trading market. Great trading market. 50 cents a tick to trade micro Bitcoin. We don't have to spend too much time on it. Technically, you guys can see patterns that played out. 200 moving average down here. It came down and checked it. Um, but a really nice market to trade right now. I think on both sides. It kind of sits on the back burner for me. Sometimes I wish I remembered it when I see this chart looking like this, but it looks pretty good to trade.
Oh wow. It's funny. I don't. If you, hmm, I've been preaching this for how long? How when did we
It's been a
start?
while. Yeah,
Well, I'm not here to pat my. I'm just like Bitcoin. One, if you're learning how to trade and you want to go trade something new, Bitcoin is one that you could put one on and you don't have to worry about blowing up. I put one on and, you know, on a position, two on a position trade, and I'm never anxiety filled about something. It's the complete opposite of NASDAQ. It's, it's the complete, you put it on, you don't have to worry, oh God, what now? It's like, okay, yeah, it's going against me a little bit. It should. It's a completely different mindset.
yep, yeah, 100%, completely different, and it moves well, right? You could put a couple on, right? You don't have to put 15 of them on, but you could put a couple on, manage a position, let it work out. This is a be nice to have a set and forget trade on. Check in every once in a while, see how it's doing, while you figure out you know how to dodge cars on the Nasdaq highway. Um, all right. Any other markets? Oh, let's take a look at platinum today, because we talked about
Yeah.
these alternative metals, consolidating, 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 and then what happened with platinum?
Um,
5% move to the upside. Just kind of
that
took
doesn't.
off. Go ahead.
Well, we've been what we used watch platinum all the time. Today was an anomaly.
Yep.
But boy, does it but just on that opening range breakout on the half hour.
Last night.
Yep. Now that took time. So whatever it was, I don't know. And
Yeah,
you know what? If I knew, it would have screwed me up if I was in it.
right.
Like, um, but something came out. Look at the volume. Um,
Yeah. This type of volume, this is so platinum has been in that range for a while. We talked about this consolidation and it's fade the extremes until it breaks. This is the one that maybe was more of a channel than a range. If your plan is to range trade this, as soon as this starts looking like this, throw the plan in the shredder, right? That's it. That plan is not working anymore. I don't know what got into this market, Coach Paul, but that was a ton of volume.
well, probably buyers.
So you know what's interesting? We saw something similar in copper, but it didn't close at the high. This move closed at the high, right? We saw that blow off top in copper, whenever that was, a couple months ago, right? Where we saw a big volume coming in, but it was at the high, blow off top, and that complete reversal. And now we're consolidating. Platinum closed at the high of the day. This could be interesting going into tomorrow.
Well, I, you know, you didn't see how gold moved, platinum. Well, what did copper do?
Nothing really stayed in the range. Stayed in the
Well,
range.
now South Africa, someone mentioned it, and I believe Russia are the largest producers of platinum.
Mm.
On my fundamental side, is there something going to happen in Russia here? They're going to cut off platinum. I don't know, but wow, what a move! It doesn't matter, does it? If you bought that and you
Oh, started going. Just started going.
still,
Now the question is, okay, we can look at this and we can marvel at it. Oh wow, look at this. This is amazing.
you know,
Most of us are probably not going to be. I don't know how many traders we have here that have platinum up on their main charts, um, but a lot of the time, by the time you see a move like this, it's probably somewhere right here, right? If you weren't watching it for the day, so you know if you do scan, and I did see it earlier today where it popped up on the quote board. Is why I keep a quote board up, just to if nothing else is moving, what might be moving. But if it happens this way and you think there's more room, do the same thing that you would do, looking for an entry at the low of the day, right? Or I would do. This is what I'm telling myself: is if I think there's more room, I'm just going to find either a pullback, could look for that kind of pattern of that reversal. It wasn't the highest volume, but we closed above, right? We got a pullback, closed above, kind of decoded 3 bar reversal here, right? If we attach volume, does it keep going? This was a huge day right now. Is this going to happen all the time? But what I'm saying is maybe I'm not looking for this move in platinum tomorrow. But if someone does call out, and I mentioned this on Top Step TV earlier, when Andre's just like, oh wow, such and such market just moved a ton, or Coach Hoop is just like, cattle is cooking right now. A lot of times when we're getting that information, it seems like we're already too late to the move, right? By the time we realize it. But there is still a way to get in if you've measured it. Now, if I had come in and buy platinum here, I have to be honest with where my trade location is from where this move started. My risk cannot go down here, right? Because could this move turn around? I don't know why platinum's moving. Could this be just a reaction to something and it turn around? 100%. But uh, measured risk, there's still an opportunity to get into a trending market like this. It just kind of has to prove to you that it has the ability to keep going. Uh, Anything else you got, Coach? Anything else you want to talk about?
you know what? The euro currency made a great move today.
Let's check
Tell
out
me
the euro.
It's kind of like platinum too. When
It,
it
it,
does,
it looks
it's
like it.
like it's special. When it doesn't, it chops up. So, um, the Is that the half hour or is that the
This
daily?
is the daily. Let's go to a half hour.
All right. So starting last night, it had that fake breakout. Um, and it traded both sides of this market, but look where it ended up. And look at Sunday's opening.
Sunday's open. It was that.
You'll see a gap.
This one down here.
Yep. No, that gap is holding, and we're up near the highs. This market is gaining momentum. Um, it got bought on the dip. It's above the 200 moving average. Um, it just it's got the feel, it's got the momentum to continue. To me, the dollar is weakening quickly. We look at the daily on that. We had that big move last month with a nice correction. We've gapped up this week. Um, you can almost see the trend line when we closed on that downtrend line, correctional trend line. Yeah. Um,
That looks pretty strong.
yeah.
Looks like what else did that? Gold? Was it gold? No,
Yeah. Gold.
the Russell as well. The Russell didn't close above, held below, but yeah, this looks pretty good. Pretty good. All right, we are at time. We're over time, but we want to thank everyone for joining us today. One more question. Mark Jennifer had a question. Wanted to get this to this one, Mark. We told you we would do it last. I finally qualified for a payout on my XFA. Is there a payout strategy? Should I continue with days over $200 until I reach 30 days? Never been here before. Sure could use help with this. Mark, if you're still here, let us know what size XFA you're trading, right? What size account? Is it a 50K, 100K, 150K, and what your current balance is, if you can, really quick. Anything on your scouting report while we get those answers from Mark, Coach? I think we got it with the euro.
Uh, the euro is and with kind of yeah. We talked about the yen yesterday and the euro. Actually, it should be. And we don't can't trade the dollar index, but it's weakening dollar.
Trading against the dollar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and it's doing without volatility today. It's something got in it and it just kept on going. So maybe there's some news leaking around the corner. I don't know. I'm a technician. I like the action, especially with that gap on it from Sunday night.
Good. Mark might still be typing or may have left. I think I still see Mark in the chat. Mark's still in the chat, but I'm gonna answer this question. Okay, it's a 50K up $3,331. Happy you didn't try to push it to make it 3333. But nice job, right? So here's what I would say. You said you've never been here before, right? So you are trading with a to start, you had a $2,000 drawdown. You covered that drawdown plus $1,300. You've never been at this point before. And part of your question was, should I continue with days over 200 until I reach 30 days? It's a good goal to have. And whether you need the money or not from this account right now, I would suggest taking at least the amount that you paid for the account, right? So you paid $50 for that account. We're not including resets or whatever. You pay $50 and $150 activation fee. I would suggest at the minimum taking that out because if you've never been here before, what's going to happen? You're going to need to fill out a tax form to when you take that payout. Uh, And I suggest people doing this because it kind of legitimizes what you're doing. I don't know how long you've been trading with Topstep, but you get to a point where you're just like, oh shit, I didn't even know that this was a thing that I had to do logistically in order to get this payout. Right. So if you haven't done those tax forms already, just go through that process and feel what it's like to get the money transferred over to your account. Um, from that point, the 30 days, Andrew just said it, making it to 30 days has no benefit in the XFA. Um, Thought it did, but Andrew would know a lot better than me. But what I would say is start to develop a plan for how you're going to pay yourself from this account consistently. Right. The 30-day thing, and Coach Ray and I have done a class with a bunch of traders where they've been with TopStep for a while and maybe haven't taken payouts. And one of the things that we talked about in that session was, you know, has anyone ever had an account where it was eligible to take a payout, but you didn't take it? And what was the reason you didn't take it? A lot of the traders in that session said, uh, I had a $10,000 balance in the account, but I wanted to get it to 25,000 before I took a payout. So now I take nothing, right? That's a monetary focused way to manage your account, right? Where you say, I just need to get the balance to X amount of dollars before I take a payout. I don't know that I love that goal, right? So if you want to say, hey, every 2 weeks I want to take 20% of anything above the buffer, right? That's a different strategy than saying, hey, it needs to get to 25,000, right? Cuz you might get to 5,000 and still be able to take a payout. You might get to $300. Maybe at that point you say, it's not worth it to take it, but develop almost like a payroll structure for your account instead of saying it needs to get to X dollar amount before I take a payout. Any suggestions that you have on that, Coach Paul?
I like what you said. Another one to do is take 50% out. Once it gets loaded again, take it goes to the original, take 50% out, leave some in there. That's a real simple one. So you gotta pay yourself. But especially just starting, leave some in there for drawdowns. But building it up when it gets back up to that, take 50%. You know what happens? You start building up a war chest.
Yep.
And taking some money. That's one way I do it when that I do with getting paid out. Um, where you start building real equity.
Mhm.
And if you need money, you'll have some in reserve.
Right.
But definitely that first one, pay yourself.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Make
Number
make it
one.
make it real. Make it real. Um, Leave something in there so you can continue to run your business, right? The last thing I would want is you to take a payout. And a lot of times what happens is traders feel like their back is against the ropes now because now my account is in a drawdown, right? Self-inflicted drawdown by you took your money out of the account, but leave something in there so you don't feel like you've already been accustomed to trading with a $2,000 drawdown. Leave at least that, right? So you don't have to change anything logistically there. Um, and also don't feel like this happens a lot. I'm not saying it's going to happen with you, but we see it happen with traders all the time. The day after I take that payout, I feel like I need to replenish that amount of money. You don't. I would almost suggest taking the payout and don't even trade that day. Uh, Not even trading the day it clears because I've seen so many traders take a payout, feel like they need to replenish that money into the account, and then that's the day they blow their account. So if you feel that, right, I don't want to tell you not to trade, right? Because at some point you're gonna have to take your money out and then step back into the markets again. So is that 1 day? Is that 2 days? Is that a week? Whatever it is. If you sit at your desk and you feel an emotion that says, I need to get my money back because it's in my bank account now, I would hesitate to place any trades on any days like that. But that's just, uh, that's different for every person. Stop calling you out all the time. I'm just, listen, guys. Coach Paul, there was I was on with Ofek, who's a basketball player, one of our traders at Topstep. He's a basketball player. I've never seen Ofek in my life. I think he lives in Israel. We were on the stream for about an hour. He said he played basketball, and I looked at him and I told him what type of player he was and what spots on the floor he likes to shoot the basketball just by looking at him. And I asked the question and he answered it. And I'm just like, Dobie's like, how the hell did you do that? Just like, pay attention enough and you see something over and over, make deductions about what's going to happen. Coach Paul, how many traders have you worked with? Right, Mark is not the first trader that we're telling these exact things to. It happens. It's the nature of the game.
Uh, it's the nature of the game, and you picked another one good perspective. If you take it all out, then you feel like it's empty,
Right,
and and there's that I got to make that back. If you take
right.
50% out, there's some cushion. You don't feel that as much as of that emptiness. I've seen big trader take everything out, and then he went into a drawdown and had a big daughter got married, and he had big expenses, and it created havoc in his life.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm personally a believer of cushion. It makes you feel comfortable trading.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. Great question though, Mark. And thank you for sticking around for us to answer that because I think it was an important one. Um, it's the goal, right? The goal of doing all of this, watching these lines go up and down on charts, clicking buttons, dealing with the stress of trading, is to take money out of the markets at the end of the day. So, great question. That's where we want all of our traders to get to. All right, Coach Paul.
All
Coach Hoop is
right.
starting in 3 minutes. You got anything before we go?
Um, Trade well, focus on your risk management, trade your plan.
Some stuff. Megamind, I'll end with you. Any advice for people who have their first negative day in the XFA? If it's managed risk, if it's a managed loss, it's just another day of trading. You do not have to make that money back tomorrow. You do not have to make that money back by the end of the week. Your job is to just identify good setups that you're comfortable with putting risk behind and taking the trades from there. If anything, feeling nervousness, maybe scale down. Logistically, Coach Paul makes a suggestion of 12% of your drawdown. Adjust that, right? So if today you were trading with a $500 drawdown and you hit it, maybe now tomorrow you're only risking $400. But trade
Y-
well.
y- One last thing
Yeah,
on that: be aware you can't control when the drawdown comes.
correct.
So one of the is cut your size in half because you're in a different space now.
Hmm.
It's a different reality that you're dealing with. But you can't pick when the drawdown comes. So what naturally happens is I can't wait a minute. I'm in an XFA. I need a payout, or I
Right.
got to get that. I got to get that back. Um, no,
Yeah. 100%.
uh,
You know what happens, Coach? I mean, we're gonna run over that. We
uh,
can't go into Coach Hoop's class, but
no.
what happens with that XFA is as soon as traders get into XFA, there's another countdown that happens. 5 days. Right? That 5 day countdown starts as soon as you activate that XFA. That 5 day countdown starts. Right, where it's just like, all right, 5 more days, I can get to the money. So that one day, that first day, that's a step back. Feels like now it's 6 days. It's still 5 days, right? You still only need 5 profitable days to be able to take a payout. Um, but that monetary target sits in our head and tells us that hey, if you take one step back, you're failing. You got to zoom out. You got to zoom
All
out.
right, we better get going. So, Coach Hoop, tune in, learn. Um, oh, we went a long time today.
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. Thank you everyone for joining. Join Coach Hoop in Discord in just a couple minutes here. Just a minute here. And then we have Coach Ray and Coach Vince, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Central Time. Dakota with slow markets. Aaron with the London Open. D with Euro Trade. She'll have Dr. Jerome on. And I will see you all for fast markets tomorrow. Thanks, Coach Paul. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, chat. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so already on the way out. We appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.